Right.
Here we are.
We've come back again.
Why did we come back again?
Because that's what we're doing.
That's because that's why we're here. Because it went so well,
It
didn't it?
Oh, the response was amazing from our first one, wasn't it?
Good. Well, yeah. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you to everyone.
Thank you, guys. God. Oh, don't hit the mic.
Thanks to everyone. In all seriousness, we're both in really funny moods tonight.
Yeah, we are.
It's full moon.
It's full moon. It's a Friday night.
Everyone's at Leak Lights.
Which we're gutted about not being there.
We're dead sad. And we're here.
We are. But no, thank you for everybody that's listened, because it's been, and the feedback and all the amazing messages. And yeah.
We've had some like really surprising people, haven't we?
Yeah, we have.
Saying that they've listened and just been like, just said some really lovely things.
Yeah.
So we really mean that. So
that's why we're back, because it obviously wasn't awful. So we'll try it again.
Or maybe it was awful and everyone just loved that as well.
Yeah, maybe.
And here we are to give you more.
We love it anyway.
We do love it. So what have we been doing this week?
So we've obviously been sisterhooding.
Yeah.
And then we had...
Smashing it, week 2.
Smashing it. The sisters have been on fire, haven't they? And I don't know, considering it's like winter and it's getting near Christmas, they're so on fire still.
I tell you what, there is... The consistency at the moment is crazy good.
Isn't it?
Like for December.
I know.
It's not December.
November.
It's November. For November.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It is. And the energy and everything just feels really good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then we've got our Christmas do next Saturday.
Yeah.
Manchester.
There's 25 of us going to Manchester.
Oh, we'll be able to fill the pod in with how it went, won't we?
There'll be a lot of gossip.
I'm sure there will.
Or not. Or maybe we won't be able to tell.
No. It'll just be about me and you and how drunk we got. So yeah, on Saturday we did our first ever Little Sisters.
Yeah, we did.
Didn't we? And you took Nora.
Oh, it was amazing.
Shall we explain a little bit what it was?
Yeah, so Little Sisters was like Nora's brainchild, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Not that she knew it, but she was just so desperate to come to the gym with me, and all she's heard me say over the past couple of years is like, Mummy's going to work. Are you going to the theatre when I worked at my other job? Or are you going to the gym? And when I'd say I'm going to the gym, she's like, I want to come. And I've always said no. And so I was like, actually, like, there's something there, isn't there? There's something in them being there with us. So I mean, it's been a while. We've been thinking about it for quite a long time, hasn't it?
It's been in our brains for a while, hasn't it? And then, don't know, like a bit like with the podcast, it all just happened, and then we did it, didn't we?
It happened.
But there was, how many did we have?
So we had 11 mums or sisters.
Yeah.
With one, so there was one-on-one, wasn't there? So one big person with one little sister.
Yeah.
We called them big sisters. That got quite confusing for the little sisters, because they were like, that's my mum, not my sister. Yeah. And they got to be introduced to the gym. Mm-hmm. They got to warm up. They got to do a circuit.
Yeah.
And they got to see their mum do the exercise, and then they got to do the exercise, didn't they?
Yeah. And it was, and I think, with not having, I wasn't there as a mum, but just kind of seeing, I've just knocked the mic again. With just seeing like the little girls and how in awe they were, just looking up to the mums, and vice versa. It was just a really like heartwarming thing to watch.
Yeah, it really
and we
was.
felt so like, if you could have like bottled that energy in the room and that feeling and that love, we would, wouldn't we? Because it was just so nice.
And there's so many times I actually got genuinely choked up.
Yeah, me too.
Like, just, they'd finish an exercise and everyone would like high five. And like, just it was just beautiful.
It was
and the
beautiful.
amount of content we could have carried on filming.
I know.
Like, every time we saw something, we're like, oh God, let's get it on film.
I know. It was beautiful.
It was proper. I think we were both just on such a high after, weren't we?
And I think creating that space for those little girls to be in the gym, in like a big gym with a lot of equipment and a lot of, scary looking machines and things, and for them to be there and own that space and feel like they could own that space, I think was really important. And hopefully, that'll be a core memory that they have, and later down the line.
And we carry on.
Yeah.
We get to keep coming back.
Yeah.
And I'd said to one of the mums at one point, I was like, I think why it hit home on so many levels, didn't it?
Yeah.
But I turned to one of our sisters and I said, can you imagine these 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds when they're 14, 15? You know, can you imagine if they've got this exposure to exercise in a really positive way at this age, and doing it in an environment that feels really supportive and not competitive?
No.
And really just giving in so many ways, and how that might transform the way that they feel about themselves. Like, that's so special.
Yeah, it is.
And I think, you know, when I got home, I had a little cry to Tom, and I was like, I think because that's what I needed at that age.
Me too.
You just need that. Can you imagine being a teenager and have seen that, you know?
It could be life-changing.
Yeah.
And like you say, I didn't think of it like that, but there was just not 1 ounce of competitiveness. And I think, I mean, I can't speak on behalf of men, but I know for women, you there are, like, in every aspect, you're kind of pitched against one another, aren't you? And then it just becomes such an automatic way of thinking sometimes. And there was just not that in any way. And no one was looking at anyone else. Everyone was just focused on being with their mum or their daughter. And and I think we've had that in Sisterhood though, haven't we? I remember last year, one of the sisters that came new, she was like, it's not competitive, like no one's comparing each other, and it doesn't feel like we're like working against each other. And I think we've just created that space from the get-go, really, haven't we? So,
and I think that was the lovely thing about the little sisters as well, because it wasn't in a school environment. Because actually in school, even though it's great, and I know kids love PE, it's still leading up to sports day. It is all about, like, who is the fastest, who's the best at that sport. And that is what PE was like at school, wasn't it?
Yeah. And there's that classification system, isn't there, of like, if you're in the A team or the B team, or how fast you ran your 100-meter sprint. And in the gym, it's just not that, is it? There's no classification. You're just there doing your thing.
Absolutely. And we have had a little, like, I wouldn't say controversy, that's probably not the word, but we have had discussions this week, haven't we, with multiple people actually around like boys being part of it. And I told you I had to have quite a difficult chat with Freddie, because he got really upset, my little boy, he's 5, because he didn't understand why he couldn't be involved. And, you know, I had to say, because it's not for boys. And that's been I suppose a bit tricky for some people, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. And I think we haven't had that at all with the Sisterhood itself. We've had the odd kind of, you know, the odd kind of person being like, oh,
like,
why can't I join in? But I think it's been interesting, and not something that I was expecting anyway, of people kind of going, well, what about little boys? And, you know, where's the space for them? So, yeah, it's brought up discussions for us, hasn't it? And
absolutely.
The whole reason why we do it, really, because we think that it is important just for women to have that space. And in a way, it's not that it's just not about men in that space. That's all it is. It's nothing against them. It's just a space for girls. And I just don't think we've ever really, I don't know. It's interesting that it's come up, and it's brought up some different questions.
Yeah. And I think you're right. It's not that we don't appreciate that little boys need to have exposure to the gym, or even exposure to women in the gym, because that's also really important, and how you interact with the opposite sex or different people and different ages and all the things in the gym. But it isn't our remit.
No.
Our remit is about females having or anyone who identifies as a female having space to be themselves in the gym. And I don't think we're intending on changing that. No. I think we feel that is why we set the Strong Sisterhood up. And that is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think it's also, important for us to have these conversations, I guess, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. So. Absolutely. And I mean, I said to you, didn't I? Like, you know, the idea of the sisterhood as well is like being strong and part of something that empowers women in the gym, but actually that transfers into every element of your life.
Yeah.
And being able to have those difficult conversations with men or male figures in your life, including your sons, and actually the power and strength that they see from you saying, no, actually, like this isn't for you. there is many other things that are for you, but this isn't. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Not everything is for everyone
No.
all of the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think some really positive learnings come out of it for us.
100%.
It's always great to be I say challenged in the loosest sense, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
it does bring up conversation and learning and progression, and that's like,
and it shows we're doing something right. I think if there are, you know, if it isn't always, I don't know, like the fact that it's bringing up different debates and things, I think is a good thing because it shows that we're doing something meaningful, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that aside, I think the whole experience was just a really positive one, wasn't it? And
it was beautiful.
And being inspired by little Nora, which, you know, is kind of brings us on to what we were going to also talk about tonight, because we want to talk about food and exercise and our relationship. And you sort of mentioned just before we came on about how Nora is your inspiration for you having a better relationship with food and exercise too, because I guess you've got those little eyes on you
all of the time. And I think I think everyone always aspires to have like a really positive relationship with food and exercise. I think we try lots of things on as we get older, well, through our lives, hoping that the thing we try on is the positive one.
Yeah.
Or we kid ourselves into maybe thinking it's the healthiest option because we're still learning. But actually, for me, having the children, especially Nora, was those little eyes on you. It had to be real. Like, there was no real kidding myself. There wasn't like, oh, this diet will be the thing, because if I cut like carbs out, then I'll definitely be healthy. But actually, there's eyes on you now.
Yeah.
So, and you know, really, that cutting a food group out isn't healthy. It can't be, can it? Because otherwise, we would have done that from the dawn of time.
Yeah, that food group wouldn't exist.
Precisely, because it would have been poisonous to us. So, you know, so having those eyes makes you kind of cut the bull crap out, and go, okay, what's real? And what's real is living a life that you want them to have.
Yeah.
For themselves. So I suppose, so my relationship with food and exercise is it's ongoing. We never get to a point where, you know, someone actually, we had a lovely message this morning about how they didn't feel like the last podcast was preachy. And that comes from a place that we don't have answers.
No.
Like, if you're here for answers, it's probably not the place.
We're not your gals.
We're not your gals, because there isn't an answer.
No.
There isn't, is there?
And there isn't an end point, is there? There isn't a right, I've reached it now, I've achieved it, I've got a healthy, balanced, you know, relationship with food and exercise. And, you know, for some people that might feel like they have because they've never really had any struggles with food and exercise. Some people just do genuinely go through life, and, you know, food and exercise is just a part of just their normal day-to-day life, and it's not something that they have any like emotional attachment to. Or,
God, I envy those people.
I know, me too.
What a way to live. If you're one of those people, hats off. I reckon your parents did a grand job.
That's the thing. I think it's like it's your emotional like attachment with food and exercise, isn't it? And that isn't a choice that we have. That's just a product of what we've been through and how we've been shaped, and, you know, what food was like for us as children, what exercise was like, and what messages we internalized, and even simple things like what meal times were like at home. And
absolutely,
did you get snacks? Did you get bribed with chocolate? Like, so many things. So I think it's just the experiences you've been through, isn't it? And that's something we've bonded on from the very beginning, really, isn't it?
Another serious bond around our relationship.
Trauma bonding, though.
Trauma bonding through snacks. Yeah. Have you got your protein powder? Yeah, have you?
Emergency protein bar. Comfort protein bar. So yeah, I think we just kind of wanted to dip into it a little bit today. But I think it's, like we've said, haven't we? It's going to probably be there weaved into everything that we talk about, really. So
yeah. So shall I give you some highlights of the most hilarious diets I've ever done?
Do it.
So we've done, well, we'll say we've done, I don't know the royal we. I've been on and off Weight Watchers for a long time. I'll say, well, not now, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, through uni, that was fun. I was actually talking to some of the sisters about it this morning, because there used to be a chip shop right next door So every time we get weighed in that week, like if you lost, you'd go round and then get your massive portion of chips, and then I'd go and get like a Whisper Gold afterwards as well, and like go home just completely gorge on it.
Nice.
You know, like
Because you'd reached the goal.
because
What
like,
happened with Weight Watchers?
goal?
Like what? I kind of know how Slimming World works.
I think it's pretty much the same.
So you get a weigh in, and then,
you get a weigh in. It's all about like calorie deficit, but just not in. There was no education of food.
and then they just push like the Weight Watchers foods, don't they?
Yeah, like the snacks and stuff. And I remember starting the gym whilst like halfway through one of my Weight Watchers journeys, and I went in that week and I'd put weight on. Not because I changed any of the food that they'd told me, but because I started the gym. So obviously, like, it was a bit of a shock to the
That must have
system.
been a bit of a...
And the muscles retained all that water like, from
Yeah.
that week. So they were like, oh, what's happened? I was like, I went to the gym. And they were like, oh, yeah, that does happen to some women. Like, when they go to the gym, like, they do end up putting weight on. And you could see everyone else in the room being like, yeah.
Wow.
I was like, oh, better stop then. I don't know. This is weird. Surely I should be exercising. Why am I not exercising?
Wow.
This is really weird. Like,
That is
yeah.
weird.
I don't
What
remember.
a mixed message. Like, how confusing.
I mean, so many mixed messages. But that was probably more healthy than the lemonade diet that I did.
What was
Did you ever hear about that one? So there was this like weird liquid sugar that I ordered off the internet. I really hope that one of my friends is watching this that I haven't spoken to in a long time. Katie, another wonderful Katie in my life, that did it with me. And I think I did it for 3 weeks. So it was this like syrup. It was cayenne pepper and lemon juice in water.
I think I have heard of this.
The lemonade diet. It also did not taste like lemonade. And you drank like, I think it was like 3 2-litre bottles a day. And that was it.
Gosh. For how many
I
weeks?
think I did it for 3 weeks. I think she lasted for 2. And she was like, fuck
done.
this.
I'm
I'm not
out.
doing this anymore. I think I lost about 1.5 stone. This is not an advert for anyone. No. Like, I lost 1.5 stone because I wasn't eating. And I was working. Full time at a theatre. Like how I functioned. I was also smoking because that got me through.
Wow. God, your bowels. What are your bowels like?
I don't remember. I think I blocked it out.
Gosh. Oh.
So it was a time,
That is
you
a
know, it was a
time.
time. But like all these things, like were just fairly normalised.
Yeah.
Like I remember telling people that and then being like, oh, the
Oh,
lemonade
yeah.
diet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can you imagine someone coming up to you now being like, I've not eaten for 3 weeks?
No. And thank God it has changed. Because I know we're kind of laughing about it, but Jesus, like it's not.
It's not okay, is it?
I would do them juice diets because my dad at the time had a fruit and veg business. So he was like a wholesaler. So I could just go in and I'd grab I'd have the ingredients what I needed to make all these juices and I'd box it all up and then do this juice diet thing. But I
How
don't
long would you do
think I
that
lasted
for?
very long, to be
No.
honest, because yeah, I don't think I've done many crazy fad ones. I did the juice diet and a lot of my friends, or a couple of them did the cabbage
Soup. Was it like soup? But it wasn't.
Yeah,
It's like cabbage water.
a few of them
isn't
did
it?
that,
Yeah.
and then they had the skinny teas.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. I was too to buy anything. That's probably not the best word to use. Might need to call that out. I was too like a cheapskate. I'm very frugal with my money.
You are
I wouldn't
frugal,
I wouldn't
you
part
are.
with money, but I'd go to my dad's because I'd get free fruit and veg.
Yeah, of
anyway.
course. Absolutely.
So yeah, that's all I did really. And then just, starving yourself. And I used to eat a lot of Special K.
A Special K diet.
What the hell?
What a load of crap that was. Like, what a great way of making you buy Special K, though.
Mad.
I used to buy the cheap version.
I did. I wasn't buying the bloody... It was ridiculously expensive.
Oh, my God.
I did like it, though. The berries with the little vanilla.
Bloody love Special K.
Me too.
Delicious.
Do you know what, though? Now, I can't really eat cereal because I think... I've not had a box in for a long, long time, but I used to, binge it, really.
Oh, did you?
Because of the Special K diet and things like that. And then I remember when I was, teenager and I'd go out drinking and I wouldn't eat. I would just have a bowl of cereal. And I think there's a bit of an emotional thing going on there with cereal. So
So
yeah.
there is that, isn't there? Because obviously you touched on last time about the eating disorder when you were younger.
Yeah.
And that kind of rearing its head a little bit now.
Yeah, it kind of does. I think it naturally every now and again. But yeah, it was just when I look back now, it's quite a And I definitely wouldn't be where I am now if I hadn't have experienced that, because that's what got me into wanting to do therapy and things. But yeah, it just kind of, I think I was just finished year 11, and yeah, just something I don't know. I think things felt a bit out of control for me at the time with going into A levels, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I struggled with my AS levels and things. And then yeah, just something switched, and I would just, or it was like I remember lying in bed one night and just obsessing over being tiny, like it was just in my mind. And yeah, crazy really. And then it was so intense for like 6 months, like, you know, my family were worried, like it was really intense. And then just like I say, when I got with Jim, and it did, like, thinking back about what I said last time when I was like, oh, I met Jim, and he kind of, and I know people who obviously eating disorders aren't resolved that easily, and I didn't want it to sound like I was like, yeah, and then I was healed, because I wasn't. And the healing has taken place like over the years and years, and still now really, you know. I think that's the thing with your relationship with food and exercise, isn't it? Like we were saying just before we came on, like it doesn't just go away. Like you don't just hit a point of, oh, I'm healed now. And I think it weaves itself into your life so much. And I can see sometimes, like I think, and we've spoken about this before, when sometimes we have these moments where like, oh, like I'm gonna start. What were we on about the other day? What were you saying?
No, I'm not sure it's something I can I'm gonna.
No, because I was saying, because you said to me, oh, you're on about, oh, when you go on a bit of a cut, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then I said, oh, that's interesting use of words.
Yeah.
And you said, oh, what do you use? And I said, well, when I'm trying to think about more what I'm eating, I'm trying to be more mindful of what I'm eating. Whereas for you,
because I still use like cut diet phase.
Yes.
I like very much like that coaching mindset.
Yeah.
Of the phases you go through to increase muscle, reduce fat. But it is because we still use quite different terminologies, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, which is interesting because you've obviously been in the body building world, haven't you? And
well, kind of skirted around the outsides of it, but like a lot, like the phrasing, like for sure. And I still use quite a lot now. But it definitely has an impact into your like mentally how you perceive food and exercise.
Yeah.
Like when you're using food and exercise. Sorry, I feel like I've deviated away from what you were saying. But as you're kind of using them as a driver still towards an aesthetic goal. So even all the terminology and everything is still kind of that like achieving this perfection of what we should look like.
Yes.
Like rather than because you say about being mindful. And that can then again like translate into so many different areas of your life when you're being mindful with food, exercise, movement in general, sleep, water, like all the things. Whereas actually when you're talking about like maintaining or like cutting or bulking, like all those things is still around that doesn't translate to anything else in your life apart from what you look like. It's interesting, isn't it?
It is. It is. And I said to you about swapping that word out, didn't I? Have you thought any more about that or not?
Yeah, and actually, because like when you were saying it, I agree, because actually if I'm not doing any of those things, like I don't feel like I'm really in a place right now where I'm doing any of the stuff I just said. I am being mindful. That's all I'm doing. I'm trying to, I thought to myself the other day, I'm almost trying to look after myself like I would my child.
Yeah. I think that's really good.
Yeah, and so that is mindful.
Yeah.
And I just want to be in the best place I can possibly be. So, yeah, that is mindful.
It is.
And it's a lovely, like, I know it's quite an overused word, but actually it is the word, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And I don't know how I arrived at that word, but I think I didn't really think about it until we spoke about it the other day. And then I think that is what, because the words like calorie deficit and things like diet to me just make me freak out. And I think, like I was saying to you the other day, like I think I've got this fear, irrational fear really, of like if I start being in a calorie deficit, I'm gonna go back to where I was when I was 16, and I know that would never happen. But it's like this fear in me of like my body freaks out when I'm like, if I am trying to cut back what I'm eating, it's like it goes into this, no, we're not doing this again. So yeah.
And that's that's like pure survival, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like your body
yeah.
doesn't want to be there,
No,
and like neither should it have to be.
no. It doesn't
You
deserve
know,
to be, does
and
it?
we do like, and I suppose when we still talk about calorie deficit with some of the sisters, like when they, you know, because everyone comes to us with different goals.
Yeah.
Like we've said, we do one-to-ones with all of our sisters once a month if that's what they want to do, and everyone has really individual goals, and some of those goals are that they want to lose body fat, and for us to be able to help them achieve that, then sometimes if they're tracking calories, then they have a calorie deficit, don't they?
100%. And I think like the most important thing about it all, like, is everybody's different.
Yeah.
Like what would not be a word to use for me or a way to coach me could be completely different for someone else. And we kind of gauge that with the sisters, don't we? Like we don't kind of use a one size fits all. And you know, if we know that one of the girls has got difficulties with food, and like, if, you know, we know a few of the girls have emotional relationships with food, and we've talked about, you know, journaling and writing, like, you know, every time you go to emotionally eat or something, log that. So we do very much have like a bespoke way, don't we? Because we know that we're completely different, and what triggers me wouldn't trigger you. And I think that's just the ethos of what we do, isn't it? Because I think we've both been understand, you know, when we've had different coaches and PTs in the past, you get kind of put in a box, and that's okay, because that's what that PT does, and that's what they've learned to do, that's what they've taught to do, and that's kind of the facts of if someone wants to lose weight and things. But there's so much more to it. Like
there's so much more.
There's people's whole life, people's whole emotional experience with food. They're like, say, everything, and this, you know, coming from a therapist point of view, that makes up why someone's got a particular relationship with food. So.
And I think that was one of the things, like when we first started PTing together, that I remember being quite shocked at some of the PTs putting some of the women especially into like such low daily calorie intake. I think that was one of the things that we kind of started bonding on. We were like, that can't be.
No.
Like no one can survive off that. And like, especially not long term. And I think probably the fad diets we've been on and all the things that we knew so well that we've been through. And I definitely had done it, and then I put weight back on and done it and put weight back on. I was like, this just looks like the start of that cycle.
Yeah.
To me and us, didn't it?
And
Like
it can be for some people, can't it?
Yeah.
Because, you know, you lose weight and then you get so much like, oh, you look amazing, like so much validation from that.
Yeah.
And we see it, don't we, with our sisters sometimes, you know, if they have, you know, their body shapes change and not necessarily even lost weight, but they've, you know, lost body fat. Like you see the comments, and no one means any bad. Like obviously it's all come from a good place, someone commenting on how well someone looks because they're technically smaller, but that can be, you know, quite damaging, really. And I think there's a whole thing there on commenting on people's bodies and is it okay? And I think that's a whole other podcast in itself.
Absolutely. And actually I think that's probably like something that maybe we'll touch on in the next episode. So I'm going to talk a little bit in the next one about the photo shoots and the photo shoot prep that I did. And that actually is like, what I wanted to touch on people's kind of external validation and comments and stuff. But I think for now, that's today done.
Yes. It was quite deep.
It's quite deep.
I enjoyed it.
It was lovely.
I hope people can relate, and it's nice to share a little bit of
and obviously
our stories,
like
isn't it?
We've made light heart of some of the stuff in there because that's the way that we are.
Yeah.
And it's the way that we carry on evolving and being able to reflect on stuff. But we understand that it is quite heavy for some people. So
we do.
You know, reach out if you need to as well. Like we're always here to chat to and to be an ear if you're going through anything too.
Yeah. And hopefully you feel less alone if you are going through something, because we can totally relate.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
See you next time.
See you next time.